Normally, we are not so intelligent. Neither our consciousness is, pure. It is all contaminated. Even though hearing, reading, speaking, still we are not able to detect how we are being fooled by the illusionary energy. Life after life, we are repeating the same mistakes that we did in the previous lives. So it is an effort that with a little bit of more effort, with a little bit of more push, that we accept what is the reality and we are able to overcome what is the illusion. Otherwise, again, this life will be led. We will live in a life which is nothing to do with reality, and the illusion veil is so thick that we never see the reality. Okay? So how many verses you will recite? You will recite from the third chapter or from the second chapter or from both?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Actually, I practiced, but
Yeah, that is fine. Yeah.
don't study Prabhuji, but I shall try.
If you see at least 3 times, 4 times, try to write. Where we are not so proficient, then how we become proficient is by making effort. That's all. Result is not in our hand, but the effort should be there. The success in Krishna consciousness is the sincere effort. To the extent the effort is sincere, the outcome is always assured. There is no failure in Krishna consciousness. So you recite whatever you want, Out of the 4, at least recite 1. 2 verses we said from the second chapter, 36 and 37. And 2 verses I said from the third chapter. You recite whatever you feel you are comfortable with.
Yes, Prabhuji. So I'll start with the 2.36. I practiced others also, Prabhuji, but in between maybe
No problem.
checking. So first one I'll decide. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Tashma.
One moment. One more thing, In the morning when you are all coming together to chant, then please give darshan also. Keep your video on. I don't know how many of you are not. I mean, there's a new disease which has come up to switch off the video. It's bad. Why you want to become impersonalist again in this life? When you have getting the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, then why we want to have impersonal tendencies? So please do not switch off the video. Hare Krishna. Go ahead. I won't interrupt now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन् हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा सर्वत्र सर्वदा
Shrotavya
श्रुतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च स्मर्तव्य हरिनृणाम् भगवान् नृणाम्.
Bhagavan Ram. See, Tasmat Sarvatma Narajan. So, Shukdev Goswami is giving the conclusion. What was the question? That one who is on the verge of death, what he should hear, what he should chant, what he should glorify, and what he should not do. So on that was asked in the last canto, the 19th chapter. And in the first chapter and the second chapter, all details have been spoken. So he's talking about those who want to worship the Virat Roop or the impersonal form, or those who want to realize the Paramatma feature. But then he's saying, after speaking all of this, those who are approaching through the Ashtanga Yoga phase, the different paths he has spoken. So now he is giving the conclusion. After having spoken so many paths, so many processes, so he is giving the conclusion. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan. Hari sarvatra sarvada. These 3 things are most important. Shrotavya, kirtitavya, smartavya. Shrotavya means to hear. Kirtitavya means to glorify. And one who is constantly hearing and glorifying, then there is possibility of one to remember. This is the point. Without Shravanam and Kirtanam, how can there be Smaranam? How at the last moment of our life, at the time of leaving this body, uh, when one is having the final breath, how can he remember the Supreme Lord? When there is the process of Shrotavya Kirtitavya, uh, Smartavya Bhagwan Miranam. Okay, so nothing is there to forget. If we are going through the verses, the progression in Srimad Bhagavatam, then we should be knowing that why this verse is being spoken and what this verse means. So the attempt to cramp is not there. Cramping will not work. What we are doing is we are knowing what is the progression, that what was the question, what was the inquiry. This is what Sonak Rishi is asking, that what was the inquiry? What was the question? What was the conversation? What was the reply? They're so keen. And if you see those people who are watching commentary, if somebody is hearing commentary, what the other person will come and ask, what is the obvious question? What do they ask? The person who is hearing. What is the score? If a person is hearing commentary and when you ask what is the score, he does not answer, what are you doing? You are wasting your time or what? You are hearing commentary and you don't know the score. Similar for us, if we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, then we should be knowing what was the query and what is the reply. What is the solution? Okay, second verse, who will answer? Purushottam, 37th verse.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
पिबन्ति ये भगवत आत्मना शताम् तथामृतं सर्वपुटेषु
Kathamritam? No, wait. Voice is breaking. Wait a minute.
कथामृतं सर्वपुटेषु समृतम्
Kathamritam?
श्रवणपुटेषु समृतम्
Sravaneshu. Kathamritam Sravaneshu.
Yes,
Shravan.
Prabhu.
Kathamritam has to be how this Katha Amrit will come through the process of Shravaneshu. I hope I remember correct. Kathamritam Shravana. Okay, Kathamritam Shravana. Then
पुटेषु समृतम्
what is Puteshu Samritam? तोते की तरह याद नहीं कर रहे हैं. You have to drink that. Pibanti. What is Puteshu Samritam? Simple, eh? It is not complex.
So drinking this nectarian
How? Through the ears. Filling this nectar through the ears. Very good. Go ahead. पुनन्ति ये
विषय विदूषित पुनन्ति ये विषय विदूषितायन्तम्
आशयम् पुनन्ति ये
पुनन्ति ते विदूषिताशयम् भजन्ति तच्चरण सरोरुहन्तिकम्.
ओके, वन मोर टाइम. आप पूरा बोलिए, बीच में ब्रेक नहीं देंगे, डायरेक्ट बोलिए.
पिबति ये भगवन् आत्मना सताम् कथामृतं सर्वणपुटेषु समृतम्.
पुनन्ति ते विषया
पुनन्ति ते विषया विदूषितायाम् then Brijan
Pranti tat charana saroru antikam. Okay, Pranav, you recite this.
हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
पिबन्ति ये भागवत आत्मना शतं कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संहृतं पुनन्ति ते विषया व्रजन्ति तच्चरणशुरुर्हन्तिकम्.
Okay, very good. Excellent. And can you explain the translation also?
Pivanti je Vishya, those who hear the glories of the Supreme Lord through oral reception through their ear holes, they can purify their material existence and return to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. Brajanti te tatcharana shururanti.
Yeah. So how to purify our heart, which is filled with material aspiration, is by hearing Krishna Katha. To the extent we are hearing Krishna Katha, to that extent we are purifying our polluted consciousness. Our material aspirations are becoming purified. This is one thing that is inevitable for all of us. Okay, thank you. Okay, Ravindra Prabhu, you recite the verses from the 3rd chapter. 2 verses I said. What were the 2 important verses? Very simple verses.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, verse number 10.
Okay.
Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udare di
Tivrena bhakti.
tigrena bhakti yogena yajate purusam param.
Okay. Can you share the translation also?
The person who are having broader intelligence, whether he is fully attached for material desire or without material desire or for liberation, he is always engaged
Or
in
desire. About desire for liberation.
He is always engaged in serving the Supreme Lord, Purushottam, Supreme Personality of all.
Yeah, he must worship. Nakamo sarva kamo va moksha kama udarvi. So all of these, whether they are free of material desires, whether they are full of material desires, or even if they have the desire for liberation, all of them must approach and worship the Supreme Lord. And how he is to be worshipped? Tivrena bhakti yogena. Tivrena bhakti yogena. With intense bhakti yoga.
Yes.
Okay. Dayashil Prabhu, now you are left with the last verse. Yesterday we discussed that verse. That
I
how
could
the
not
sun-
practice. Not
Huh?
practice. I
When
could
you,
not practice.
when you went so long, when you were traveling, 2 hours you would be going one side and 2 hours you will be coming from the other side, right? How are you traveling, by car or by bus or by train?
Car Prabhuji.
Huh? So you did not remember. Who was stopping you from seeing your mobile phone? And in that mobile phone you could see the verse. But the problem is that awareness is not there. That urge to recite is not there. You had 4 hours to memorize 4 verses. How can it be Hari Sarvatra Sarvada? He is nowhere. Even when we are seeing Hari, we are absorbed somewhere else. That is the imposition of illusionary energy. It is so imposive and it is so heavy. Even if we stand in front of him, even when we chant his name, we are not remembering him. We are absorbed somewhere else. Sonika, you will recite?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, try.
आयुर्हर्ति वैपुंसाम् उद्यन् अस्तं च यन् असौ तस्य ते यत् तस्यर्थे यत् क्षणो निता उत्तम श्लोक वार्तया.
Very good. Thank you. What is there to remember in this verse? Ayu harti va pumsam. Every day the sun, just by rising and by setting, it takes away 1 day from our lifespan. Yes or no? Is it not taking your lifespan away? There she prove. Huh? Are
Taking
you
away.
free from the influence? But can we recognize? Can we detect? No, we are so much in the dream state. It is taking away everyone's lifespan, but there is only one exception. Tasya arte yat shanonita. Those who are utilizing their time, uttam shloka vartaya. This is what we are trying to do. Uttam shloka vartaya. Okay, so we'll go ahead and then it was compared with 3 examples. What were the 3 examples? The last verse yesterday, those who are not hearing Uttam Shloka Vartaya, their living is compared with 3 examples. What were the examples? Their living is compared to like the living of the trees. The tree may live for a prolonged period of time, but what is the benefit? No benefit. It is just that lifespan is useless. And then it was also said that the breathing, living like a tree, longer than humans. And even if they are breathing, the breathing is like the bellows of the blacksmith. Okay, we'll continue. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe all around us? Do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? So the materialistic man is completely compared to animal life. The specific utterance of Srimad Bhagavatam in regard to other animals. Who are the other animals? In this human form, animals. Means that a person who was simply engaged in planning a better type of animal life consisting of eating, breathing, and mating are also animals in the shape of human beings. A society of such polished animals cannot benefit suffering humanity, for an animal can easily harm another animal, but rarely do good. Further, Srimad Bhagavatam speaks very heavily. It says, Swavet vara ushtra khare samastuta purusha pashu nayat karna pathopeta jatu nama gadagraja. Swapacha, you know? Swapacha is a dog eater. And what is Swa? Swa is a dog. So such people are compared to, the first comparison is like a dog, Swa. And Vidvaraha, Vid is Vishta. Vishta is the refuse that one secretes from the body. And who eats the secret? They are the swines or pigs. So Vidvara is a stool eater, a hog. And Ushtra is the camel. And Khare is the ass. So 4 types of animals are compared. First is the dog, the other is the hog, the third is the camel, and the fourth is the ass. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camel, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. So it is saying that those who do not hear Krishna Kathamritam, those who are not giving reception to Uttam Shloka Vartaya, And such men are considered valuable by whom? Those who are men like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evil. So heavy. Heavy. So if we are not in the association of devotees, then obviously we are in the association of men like Swa, Vadvira, Ushtra, and Kharai. The human society is filled with such species of men. The general mass of people, unless they are trained systematically for a higher standard of life and spiritual values, are no better than animals. And in this verse, they have particularly been put on the level of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Modern university education practically prepares one to acquire a doggish mentality with which to accept a position of service to a greater master. If we are not serving the Supreme Lord, then whom we are serving? If we are not serving God, then we are serving dog. Gopal said that. If you are not serving God, then you are serving dog. After finishing a so-called education, the so-called educated person, mostly like dogs, from door to door with the application, move from, the so-called educated person move like dogs from door to door with the application for some service. And mostly they are driven away, informed of no vacancy. As dogs are negligible animals and serve their master faithfully for bits of bread, a man serves the master faithfully without sufficient rewards. Persons who have no discrimination in the matter of food. So the first thing is that this so-called modern education, and people are seeking what? Jobs. So what are they compared with? This kind of mentality is compared to the doggish mentality. Prabhupada says that modern university education prepares one to acquire the doggish mentality. So for the piece of bread, they are running from door to door to find some vacancy or some job. So these people are compared to dogs. Now comes the second category, who are Vidvara. Who are Vidvara? Here very attentively. Persons who have no discrimination in the matter of foodstuffs and who eats all sort of rubbish are compared to hogs. Hogs are very much attached to eating stool. So stool is a kind of foodstuff for a particular type of animal. And even stones are eatables for a particular type of animal or bird. But the human being is not meant for eating everything and anything. He is meant to eat grains, vegetables, fruits, milk, sugar, etc. Animal food is not meant for the human being. For chewing solid food, the human being has a particular type of teeth meant for cutting fruits and vegetables. The human being is endowed with 2 canine teeth as a concession for persons who will eat animal food at any cost. It is known to everyone that one man's food is another man's poison. Human beings are expected to accept the remnant of food offered to Lord Sri Krishna. And the Lord accepts foodstuffs from the categories of leaves, flower, fruits, etc. Patram, Pushpam, Phalam. Bhagavad Gita 9.26. As prescribed by Vedic scriptures. No animal food is offered to the Lord. Therefore, a human being is meant to eat a particular type of food. Which type of food? That is offered to Lord. He should not imitate the animals to derive the so-called vitamin values. Prabhupada is thrashing so-called modern doctors. They have no understanding of the human body. Prabhupada, that is why he is thrashing. There is no need to imitate the animals to derive so-called vitamin value. They will always cite the example of deficiency. If you don't eat animal food or animal fat, you will always be having deficiency. No. Therefore, a person who has no discrimination in regard to eating is compared to a hog. Prabhupada gives the logic how Srimad Bhagavatam is comparing. The camel is a kind of animal that takes pleasure in eating thorns. Hear very attentively. A person who wants to enjoy family life, all the worldly life of so-called enjoyment is compared to the camel. Materialistic life is full of thorns, and so one should live only by the prescribed method of Vedic regulation, just to make the best use of bad bargain. So what is the Vedic regulation? Prescribed method of Vedic regulation. In the context to what is being spoken here. What is the regulation? Yes, Purushottam Prabhu?
Prabhuji, 4 regulative principles.
No, in talking about family life. So what kind of family life one should live? Yes, Ramya?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, he should lead a life in a detached way, like after 50 years, he should accept the Vanaprastha ashram
He should
and
live in ashram. Whether it is brahmachari or grahastha or vanprastha or sannyas. In whatever stage he is, he should be in the ashram. He should not live a grahamedi life. Even if he is living with family, he should live like a grahast ashram. So that is the Vedic regulation. Life in the material world is maintained by sucking one's own blood. The central, how it is the sucking of own blood, Prabhupada is explaining. The central point of attraction for material enjoyment is sex life. To enjoy sex life is to suck one's own blood. And there is not much to be explained in this connection. The camel also sucks its own blood while chewing thorny twigs. What the camel does, the camel lives in the place where there is acute shortage of water, primarily in the deserts. So in the desert, what kind of trees are there? There are hardly any leaves. There are only thorny bushes. And what the camel does, it tries to chew the thorny bushes. And when it tries to chew the thorny bushes, the thorns cuts its tongue. And when the thorn it chews, it cuts its tongue, so blood comes out from the tongue. And the saliva that is generated, it is mixed with the blood. And when he intakes that saliva which is mixed with blood along with the thorn, he feels that the thorns are juicy. What is that juice? That juice is his own blood. So this is what Prabhupada is saying, that the camel also sucks its own blood while chewing thorny twigs. The thorns the camel eats cut the tongue of the camel, and so blood begins to flow within the camel's mouth. The thorn mixed with the fresh blood create a taste for the foolish camel. And so he enjoys the thorn-eating business with false pleasure. Similarly, the great business magnates, industrialists, who work very hard to earn money by different ways and questionable means, eat the thorny results of their actions mixed with their own blood. Therefore, the Bhagavatam has situated these diseased fellows along with the camels. And fourth is Ushtra. Khare. Khare means the animal. Ass. What is an ass compared to? The ass is an animal who is celebrated as the greatest fool. Prabhupada is glorifying. Who is celebrated as the greatest fool amongst the animals. The ass works very hard and carries burden of the maximum weight without making profit for itself. The ass is generally engaged by the washerman, whose social position is not very respectable. And the special qualification of the ass is that it is very much accustomed to being kicked by the opposite sex, by the she-ass. When the ass begs the sexual intercourse, he is kicked by the fair sex. Yet he still follows the female for such sexual pleasure. A hand-pegged man is compared, therefore, to the ass. The general mass of people work very hard, especially in the age of Kali. In this age, the human being is actually, human civilization has engaged a human being in the work of an ass. The laborer in gate factories and workshops are also engaged in such burdensome work. And after working hard during the day, the poor laborers has to be again kicked by their fair sex, not only for sexual enjoyment, but also for so many household affairs. So the modern man can fall in either of the four categories. Either he can be a dog, so-called modern education, or he can be Vidvara, or he can be Ushtra, or he can be Khare. So Srimad Bhagavatam categorization of the common man without any spiritual enlightenment into this society of dogs, hogs, camel and asses is not at all an exaggeration. The leaders of such ignorant masses of men may feel very proud of being adored by such number of dogs and hogs. But that is not very flattering. The Bhagavatam openly declares that although a person may be a great leader of such dogs and hogs disguised as men, if he has no taste for being enlightened in the science of Krishna, such a leader is also an animal and nothing more. He may be designated as a powerful, strong animal or a big animal, but in the estimation of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is never given a place in the category of men on account of his atheistic temperament. Or in other words, such godless leaders of dogs and hogs like men are bigger animals with the qualities of animal in greater proportion. So very clearly this section is establishing that one who is not utilizing his lifespan in hearing Uttam Shloka Vartaya, then he is very much into the category of dog, hog, camel and ass. So he is engaged in these activities. Prabhupada has given a note also. There was a star mark here with that without making profit for itself. So Prabhupada is explaining. Human life is meant for earning values. This life is called Arthadam, or that which can deliver values. And what is the greatest value of life? It is to return home back to Godhead, as indicated in the Bhagavad Gita 8:15. Who remembers what is 8:15? Just recently we read 8:15. What is 8:15? Who remembers 8:15? Just few days back we discussed this spiritual scientist 8:15. बोलिए, who remembers 8:15? अभी तो डिस्कस किया है. Yes, प्रणव प्रभु.
मामुपत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम्.
A little more, you have mixed the verse. Mamupetya punarjanma.
मामुपत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम्.
Who remembers the verse? He has detected the right verse. Yes, Pradeep.
मामुपेते पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मा संसिद्धिं परमं गतिम्.
Napnuvanti Mahatmana, because they will go to Samsiddhi Parama. They will achieve the highest perfection. Mamupetya Punarjanma, where this is Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. They don't have to. Where they will go? They will go to the highest abode. Napnuvanti Mahatmana Samsiddhi Param Gatam. They will achieve the highest destination. One's selfishness must be aimed at the point of going back to Godhead. This is what Prahlad Maharaj says, Nate vidu swarth gatim hi Vishnu. That people have become so much affected by the illusionary energy that they do not know what is their self-interest. Nate vidu, they do not know what swartha, their self-interest. And what is that self-interest? Gatim hi Vishnu, that the destination is to go back home, back to Godhead. The one's selfishness must be aimed at the point of going back to Godhead. The ass does not know his self-interest and it works very hard for others only. A person who works very hard for others only, forgetting his personal interest available in the human form of life, is compared into ass. In the Brahm Vaivar Puran, it is said, Ashitim chaturascheva laksham stan jiva jatishu brahmadvi purusha prapyam purushe prapyam manusyam janma parayayat tadapi abhalatam jata tesham atma abhimanina varakshanam anashtritya govinda charandvaya. The human life is so important that even the demigods in the higher planets sometimes aspire for a human body on the earth. Because of the human body, only one can easily go back to Godhead. In spite of having obtained such an important body, one does not re-establish his lost eternal relation with Govinda, Lord Krishna. He is certainly a fool who has forgotten his self-interest. This human form of material body is obtained by a gradual process of evolution to one body after another in the cycle of 8,400,000 varieties of life. And the poor man, forgetting this importance for his own interest, involves himself in so many illusionary engagements for uplifting the position of others as a leader of political emancipations and economic development. There is no harm in trying for political emancipations or economic development, but one should not forget the real aim of life. This is the important point. All such philanthropic activities must be dovetailed to returning to Godhead. One who does not know this is compared to the ass who works only for others without their or own welfare in mind. Yeah. So, with these four categories of animal, why this four category of animal? You see the dog. If the dog is there in one area and another dog comes, immediately what arouses in the dog? He starts to shout and bark. Have you seen or not? When I go in the park, one person is moving his dog around in the park. He is the first dog. He will peacefully walk. But as soon as another dog will come, both will start barking. So the dog means that there is anger without reason. And for the pig, as it is said, that there is no discrimination. It eats without discrimination. So one who does not eat prasad, he is compared to a pig. Who eats anything without discrimination. He eats the even impure things. And camel, they carry heavy loads on their back. And fourth is the donkeys, which gets kicked by his mate. So if you see the karmi life, all such four propensities are there. In the karmis, they have the doggish mentality. What we read, what was the mentality of the Grahamedi? Two things were there. What was the characteristic of a Grahamedi? when Srila Shukdev Goswami started to speak in the first chapter of the second canto, what did he say? You all memorize that verse? If you remember that verse? Yes, Ramya?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, they are too much attached to their family life and envious to other householders.
Yeah, they are envious. They are envious of others. It's a doggish mentality. They are always jealous and envious of others. Like the dog. He cannot tolerate anyone else. So all the four features are seen in the Grahamedi life or the Karmi life. Okay. So even more graphic description is there of materialistic person. Srimad Bhagavatam goes even further in detail. Want to hear? It says, Bilebata urukrama vikramam ye nashanvata karnpute narasya jiva asati. This is the word comes. Jiva asati dardurika iva suta nacha upagayati urugaya gatha. So one who has not listened to the messages, Bile Bata Urukrama Vikramam. Urukrama is the Lord who performs very wonderful task. Urukrama, very heroic task. So one who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous act of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy song. Na Shravanata Karna Pute Narasya Jiva Asati is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. The limbs are compared now. First, the mentality was compared that it is of Swa, dog, Vadvira, Ushtra and Khare. Now the limbs are being compared. So the limbs which do not hear the glories of the Lord. So his ears are like the holes. In the ears we have the holes through which the sound penetrates. So his ear holes are like the holes of snakes. And that person who does not glorify, na cha upagayanti. Gayanti means one who glorifies or chants. So his tongue, who does not engage this tongue in glorification of the Lord, his tongue is like the tongue of a frog. What is so unique about the tongue of the frog? What is so unique about the tongue of the frog? You not heard? What does the frog do by its tongue? Yes, Dayashi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The Prabhupada says that by croaking, the frog invites the snake.
Yeah. The tongue of the frog is used for producing that sound, which is called the croaking of the frog. Tarra, 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 tarra. Have you not heard when there is the rainy season? And what this croaking sound does, it tells the snake that the frog is somewhere near. It invites the snake, it comes and it devours the frog, and its life is over. So Srimad Bhagavatam is comparing that one who is not hearing the Krishna Katha, his ears are like the holes of the snakes, and one who is not glorifying the Lord, his tongue is like the tongue of the frog. Devotional service to the Lord is rendered by all limbs or parts of the body. It is the transcendental dynamic force of the spirit soul. Therefore, a devotee is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. What is the verse? Very famous verse. That how one should engage all the limbs of the body in service of the Lord. Who is the example? Who is the Acharya? So many times we have heard in Srila Prabhupada's purports. Yes, Ravinder? बोलिए.
Prabhuji, Amrish Maharaj,
Yeah. What is the verse?
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Tadase.
That is Prabhupada. Sabe mana Krishna pada ravandeyo. Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvardhane. Haro mandir marjana deshu. Hari katha satodode. So sabe mana Krishna pada ravandeyo. So engaging all these senses and the mind in the service of the Lord. One can engage in devotional service with the senses of the body are purified in relation with the Lord. But not everyone can do it. What it requires the process of purification. One can render service to the Lord with the help of all senses. As such, the senses and the actions of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic, as they are employed only in sense gratification. The purified senses are engaged not in sense gratification, but in the service of the Lord in total. The Lord is the supreme with all senses, and the servitor, who is part and parcel of the Lord, also has the same senses. Service to the Lord is the completely purified use of the senses, as described in Bhagavad Gita. The Lord imparted instructions with full senses, and Arjuna received them with full senses. And thus there was a perfect exchange of sensible and logical understanding between the master and the disciple. Spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charge from the master to the disciple, as foolishly claimed by some propaganda mongers. Everything is full of sense and logic, and the exchange of views between the master and disciple is possible only when the reception is submissive and real. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should receive the teachings of Lord Chaitanya with intellect and full senses, so that one can logically understand the great mission. In the impure state of living being, the various senses are fully engaged in mundane affairs. If the ear is not engaged in the service of the Lord by hearing about him from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly the holes of the ears will be filled with some rubbish. Therefore, the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam should be preached all over the world very loudly. This is the duty of a pure devotee who has actually heard them from the perfect source. Many want to speak something to others, but because they are not trained to speak on the subject matter of Vedic wisdom, they are all speaking nonsense. And people are receiving them with no sense. There are hundreds and thousands of sources for distributing mundane news to the world. And people of the world are also receiving it. Similarly, the people of the world should be taught to hear the transcendental topics of the Lord. And the devotee of the Lord must speak loudly so that they can hear. The frogs loudly croak, and with the result that they invite the snakes to eat them. The human tongue is especially given for chanting the Vedic hymns and not for croaking like frogs. The word asati is very important. The word asati used in this verse is also significant. Asati means a woman who has become a prostitute. A prostitute has no reputation for good womanly qualities. Similarly, the tongue which is given to the human being for chanting the Vedic hymns will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. So we see how Srimad Bhagavatam is exposing the materialistic way of life. How it is giving comparison to the lowest form of abominable animals, or even that destitute position of being a prostitute. Why? Because one is not engaging the senses in the service of the master of the senses. So we are saved. We are really, that is why Srila Prabhupada is the savior of the whole world. He is saving everyone for gliding down to such low level of consciousness by giving us an opportunity to hear, glorify, share and preach the message of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It is our utmost duty that we receive this message and we distribute this message. Then we can make our life successful. I'll stop here. It's pretty late. It's crossed 9:30. Few more verses we will discuss tomorrow, Krishna willing. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any question, please read these verses. Our consciousness will register that where we are leading. If we are not becoming serious in this process of Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam, then what is the result? Where we will glide down. Hare Krishna. Yet another day without any question or inquiry. So I'll close. We don't have any question. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.